Money, 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 Mondays. Money. Money Mondays has turned into a mishmash of different concepts. The last couple of weeks, I've added a unique flower installation. As I mentioned before, the local gardener in the area would otherwise throw all these glorious petals. I rescue them and add them to Money Mondays as a one-time art installation. Sometimes the wind wants to come by and blow my hard work away, and that might happen. That's how you know the shit's live. Money Mondays will continue with the 100 mint rare banknotes gifted by a friend. Most of the Money Monday currency has been gifted by the friend, so thanks to that friend. We'll continue with our pack of 100. Money Mondays is where I play a fun guessing game, sort of like GeoGuessr, but with currency. Since I've explored 101 UN countries, how well does that translate to trivia? In this case, currency. I think I've mostly been okay. The twist is that Google's and other things are in the phone, but I never use those apps. I'm really just relying on my own guesswork, and that's all I do. I just guess, and I'm probably mostly okay, but I never actually go and fact check anything. I might do a series after the fact, maybe later. I know some people, some viewers have left comments to fact check me, and those were correct. The rest, though, really depends. If you're interested enough, you can do your own research. We'll continue with the ex-Soviet bloc, which has become a staple on this series. For whatever reason, I've come across some information that this is maybe a Stan country. By Stan, do I mean I'm a fan of them? I could be. This block of countries I'd considered traveling through last year. Of course, the pandemic rudely interrupted me. But the stands consist of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan. Although something I read might have indicated Stan, I'm still just gonna remain broader and just guess my typical ex-Soviet bloc. I'm trying to remember what I came across that might have been mentioning the Stans. In any case, this is the same ex-Soviet bloc country. The stylized B and Baka is what I usually use to determine an ex-Soviet bloc. Another clue is obviously the country has some wildlife. By process of elimination, the ex-Soviet bloc would still be in the running. The question is, what? You might even almost think Canada. Canada, given the types of animals, a moose looking and a bear looking. More of that same ex-Soviet bloc country. What did I come across this last week that made me think this might be a Stan? I have no clue. If you were to ask me to disregard whatever information I might have read this week, I would still argue that it's just more broadly an ex-Soviet bloc instead of narrowing my focus on the Stans. But who knows? Honestly, these animals are actually reminding me more of Canada, North America. We have our fair share of those large animals. Okay, now we're getting into an easier one. Myanmar. Myanmar is easy because they helpfully print in English. But to be fair, the printing in English can be a different incarnation. To update, I think, the previous vlog, I had guessed Mongolia, but I was confused because of the Soviet insignia. I then came across an article that the Soviets did, in fact, print currency for Mongolia before. So that's why things can get so confusing. Countries interrelate in ways that are different, unique. Mongolia actually shared communist ties, which is why Russia had been printing some of its currency. In recent times, Britain has printed its currency, Mongolia as a country has none of that capacity itself. Speaking of which, we have another Soviet printed country. That actually adds a clue for us that sometimes, maybe when I mention that something is ex-Soviet bloc, what I actually mean is Russia helped print their currency. That actually widens the number of countries to even further than just the ex-Soviet bloc. So, welcome to the confusion again. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something that I started doing last couple of vlogs, which is check previous notes that I've come across, because we've come across this country. I just have to double check something. What do I have to double check here? I have to double check. This is what I had to double check. I riffed about Mongolia, and this is why. Mongolia's currency I recognize, the Asian man, and the typeface. So this, even without the Asian man, is also Mongolia. That means obviously these bills are in random seated order, maybe by rough size. Yes, there's a legend. You can cheat if you want. I just want to have my fun. Here's another country I'd considered going to last year. That's the beauty of Turkey's strategic position in the Old World and the New World. In the Old World, its strategic position allowed it to expand outwards as the Ottoman Empire into Europe, Asia, etc. Moldova's the European side, and Turkey can easily access this country via Romania, Bulgaria, and up into there. To be honest, I'm sure that each country in Eastern Europe has its unique charm. But to me last year, part of the reason why I left the itinerary based on feeling is because most of what I wanted to actually see, experience, was in Turkey. The other countries in Eastern Europe were mostly country collecting. And country collecting is a complicated situation. In collecting countries, I know that I often still come across new things that I never really would have traveled to the country for. So in many ways, it's still an exciting adventure. Is this the same country as the one with all the animals? Ex-Soviet bloc, but with buildings instead. Yes, I'm gonna guess that's the case. This is the first time I've come across that same country, but without the animals on it. What is this country? If I come across more, I'll update. Okay. Yes. That is the country. Just to show that it is that country. I'll fish out one of the animals. And wait a second. Yes. I think we have enough to conclude these are from the same country, even if they have slightly different motifs. Or do we have enough to conclude? Yeah, I think we have enough to conclude that these are from the same country. We've made some changes. Yeah, the serial numbers are, again, 2 letters and 7 digits, but stamped in different places. The thing is, even different eras in the same country can look very different. Wait a second, am I going backwards? No. Starting to get confused as to what order I'm in here. Yes. Okay. So yes, we know that this is the same country as immediately before. I'm really curious which country it is now. And I might just motivate my fucking lazy ass to figure out which one it is. Because even I'm tiring of ex-Soviet bloc as being my guess for everything. Sometimes I've focused on certain areas of the ex-Soviet bloc. Now, given my knowledge of Mongolia, I know that ex-Soviet bloc could actually mean Soviet printed countries as opposed to countries in the bloc per se. So, 'tis what 'tis. Ooh. Nicaragua, Central America, is an emerging country for adventure backpackers because of its access to volcanoes. Volcanoes galore. When we've had bills from Nicaragua, I've mentioned the sport of volcano trekking. That's something I adventurously participated in. Participated sounds so passive. I motherfucking rode down the side of an active volcano. The experience is much like what one would expect. You breathe in ashy black poison, because that's really what the volcano spews out. In fact, those fumes are so nauseous that I'm surprised with recent volcano explosions in Iceland, St. Vincent, and Congo. Iceland basically allowed people to just trek almost right up to the mouth where red hot fiery orange lava was spewing out of one of the vents. That's the thing about Iceland that I've noticed. They just really allow people to do whatever they want. When I visited, there are some boiling hot mud holes that I think in other countries would be properly cordoned off, but in Iceland they really allow you up close. Close enough, in fact, to cook eggs. That's what some local Icelandic people were doing with the recent volcano explosion. They actually took eggs and food up to cook. But to be fair to them, I never heard of any casualties or serious injuries, so maybe they know what they're doing. Some ways, I'm always caught between being a liberal and a libertarian. I sometimes describe myself as a progressive libertarian. I really do feel that people should be allowed to make their own dumb choices, but with access to full, accurate, and complete information without bias. The second part is the difficult part. Do people have access to the information, the relevant information that would help them make their decisions? That's the part that I can test. So even if I am a libertarian, I also think that in order for society to function, it might actually have to be a big government. Ooh. mentally teleporting to the happiest country on earth, Bhutan, in Asia. Bhutan's one of those mystical, expensive countries. They have a completely different way of thinking about life. They concentrate on something other than GDP. They have something akin, but that measures happiness. So I think it's called the happiness index. That's very, very forward thinking. I think Andrew Yang, the American entrepreneur turned politician, wanted to adopt something like the Bhutan Happiness Index for the US. I agree with him. I think most countries should actually move towards that. But we are caught in a nexus of many different things. And it's hard to know exactly what direction to move in. All I know is I want to have fun for myself. The people out there are being paid a lot more to worry about all those other things, so they can go do that. If you're power hungry, that's part of what you're being hungry for. You think you've got solutions, so you go do your thing. We are still in Asia, more southeast, Cambodia. Cambodia, that's probably one of the Wat complexes, Angkor Wat or the Tomb Raider temple, one of the two. I'm trying to think of which one if I were to pick between the two. Probably Angkor? Probably. We've done this before, where I've confused Cambodia and Laos, despite having traveled to both. They're actually very similar, but I think this one's Laos. The sickle and hammer had previously thrown me off, but apparently Laos also had that influence. Actually, to be honest, a lot of Southeast Asia's had that influence. Alrighty, this will wrap it up for this week. I'm curious to know how long this installation will last, given the elements. I'll report back next week.